Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the 10 best counter pick brawlers in the game right now. So these are the brawlers that are really good, I would say, towards the end of a draft and really good at countering the enemy composition. Also, let me know what videos you want to see this week, whether you want to see the best build video. We do have Brawl Talk coming probably Saturday, so just kind of running out of ideas on what to really include, because I don't want to do like a tier list, for example, and then it just get completely outdated because there's an update in a week's time. So anyways, before we jump into it, then make sure you're using a credit code. That'd be greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's hop into it. Alright, guys, so jumping into probably the best counter pick brawler in the game right now, we have a Mr. P. So Mr. P has always been somewhat of a good counter to a lot of the meta brawlers, but ever since the HP buff, he's actually started to rise a lot in the meta. Whenever I'm watching Power League, everyone is going Mr. P, so maybe not even just a last pick right now. But anyways, Mr. P is normally used as like a counter pick, normally used against those single shot brawlers, which there's a lot of really meta single shot brawlers right now. I can list quite a few of them, like Bonnie, Gray, B, Gus even. There's a lot of brawlers that just deal damage with a single shot, so Mr. P of course can counter them, and of course he's really good against squishy brawlers, and then also he can counter really meta brawlers like Penny as well. So a lot of different brawlers Mr. P counters right now. Maybe that's why he's starting to become a lot more meta, and also with so many different HP nerfs, maybe that just makes Mr. P that much better. So next up is probably the second best counter pick brawler in the game right now. We have Sprout. So Sprout probably is the most Power League pick brawler you can ever really see in the game right now. You know, when you play ladder, it's pretty hard to play him, but when you play him in Power League, he's just so dominant in the right hands, and specifically against those squishier brawlers. So you've got to always be careful of that Sprout last pick. No matter the game mode, really, you know, if you've got 3 squishy brawlers in your composition, Sprout should just absolutely have a field day on you, because more often than not, it will free shot you. So that's why Sprout is a really strong counter pick brawler. But not only that, he's pretty decent against literally every single throw. So that's why he's one of the best in knockout and bounty as well. So there's just so many different brawlers that Sprout can counter. Okay, so jumping into the next brawler, which is definitely a counter pick brawler in this meta, we have Sam. So Sam, you know, a couple of metas ago used to be one of the best in the game. I think now he fits the role of picking him towards the end of draft and specifically countering those low DPS compositions. So you quite often see Sam late on in the draft, you know, if, for example, if the opponent picks, I don't know, like a Jean and a Gray, for example. Those are 2 brawlers that really don't have the DPS, they don't have the damage, and their reload speed is slow. So that's where Sam's star power comes into account, where he can just sit behind a wall and just spam that super and get that healing. I've seen this quite often as well in parallel plays, for example, where your opponent will have like a Gray and a Stu, and they just literally can't deal enough damage by the time that Sam's just spamming his super against the wall. And especially Stu in a solo matchup, he literally can't kill a Sam when he's next to a wall. So Sam is definitely more so a counter pick brawler. Moving on to the next counter pick brawler, we have Surge. So believe it or not, even if you're playing at the diamond range, Surge is more so of a counter pick brawler, especially considering his power shield got heavily nerfed. His other gadget's probably better now, so I'll consider him more as a counter pick option, especially towards the later end of the draft. You know, whenever I play on my mini account, people are picking Surge on like knockout and bouncy, and it's just absurd, because for me, I only pick him towards the end of a draft. You know, for example, if your opponent for whatever reasons wants to like draft a like an assassin or something quite early on, you know, like a Buzz, for example, or like in Sam, and Surge is just so easily that shutdown brawler. He can also, you know, feed his level off those brawlers and then deal decent damage into other quite squishy brawlers as well. So for me, Surge is definitely a counter pick brawler. Moving on to the next counter pick brawler, we have Squeak. So Squeak again is that brawler where in the right setting he can absolutely pop off, and especially if he has matchup, he can be the brawler that absolutely carries. But yeah, again, only really see him at the end of the draft, so this is a common theme with those kind of counter pick brawlers. Like, they have their niche scenario. With Squeak, I'm always talking about those maps which have those small choke points where he'll absolutely dominate, so you always got to be pretty careful. But not only that, just where his gadget's going to get a lot of value. So even on maps like Ring of Fire, for example, you can easily just put your gadget in the middle, and of course they just can't go down that middle section. So for me, Squeak is better towards the end of draft, and that's why he's such a solid counter pick brawler. So moving on to the next counter pick brawler, we have Edgar. So Edgar is literally at the bottom of the meta, so I would say there's only a few rare scenarios where you'd actually consider picking Edgar as like a counter pick, but that's just where he is in the meta right now. He's at niche brawler, and he's only really good in a few scenarios. I've seen him like a couple of times in competitive. One time, I think it was on field goal, where of course, you know, there's like a throw on the enemy team, and then I think that was like a Bonnie and a Meg. So of course, really low DPS brawlers which can't deal with aggro, like Bonnie, for example. Edgar can of course do decent against, but it's very rare in a scenario where there's 3 brawlers in a composition, at least one brawler doesn't completely hard counter Edgar. So of course, tread with caution. There's also a few rare scenarios as well in Heist, maybe on like Hot Potato or Pit Stop, where the enemy might have like 2 squishy brawlers in a composition, like a Rico, Ruffs, or like a Thrower or something, and then Edgar might be able to get a lot of value. Other than that, he's pretty terrible. So next up with the counter pick brawlers, we have Daryl. So Daryl has always been under the radar. I think in the right setting and in the right hands, he can absolutely pop off. But more so, he's like that counter pick option. Don't really see him early on in the draft anymore. Even in Heist, you don't really see him early on. So you'll look to pick Daryl really late on in the draft, especially when it comes down to Heist. Safe Zone, for example, he can counter a lot of those sharpshooters because, especially with his star power, he can actually tank quite a lot. He's drafted sometimes as a late pick, as like in Knockout and Bounty. I've seen him in like Layer Cake to counter, I don't know, like a Brock composition or Brock and a Cole. I've seen that sometimes. And then also as well, I've seen a few times, as I think it was by Tribe in NA monthly finals, I've seen Daryl on like a lane on Crystal Arcade, for example, because he completely wrecks like a Sandy or even like an Ems or a Ruffs, for example, because when you land on top of them, they can't really do anything. So Daryl is definitely a counter pick option. Moving on to the next counter pick option, we have Fang. So again, it's just so many assassins on this list, but that's just where they are in the meta. So many different counters in the game, and Fang, you know, he gets shut down by a lot of the top tier brawlers, but still in his niche game modes like Bounty and Knockout and some rare occurrences elsewhere, he can be that really solid pop-off brawler. And specifically when a brawler is around, I don't know, like the 3,000 to 5,000 HP mark, a lot of times you can just get a quick super, a quick stun, and a quick kill with Fang. So for me, in the right hands, he can absolutely pop off, but he's more sort of a counter pick. And lastly, on the counter pick brawlers, we have Buzz. So again, another assassin. I think literally every single one of these are pretty much an assassin. You know, can put Mortis in this category as well, but that's just where they are in the meta right now. That's how they've been for a long time. A lot of the tanks, you know, just for example, again, just like Fang, you know, Otis and a Shelly can just completely destroy him. That's why I see Buzz towards the end of the draft. But in the right hands, again, in the right composition, I've just seen Buzz absolutely wreck everyone. So you've always got to be careful of a brawler like Buzz. You know, for example, I've seen a Hot Potato. He's just absolutely destroyed like a Barley and a Ruffs just over and over again because they can't deal with the amount of HP he has on respawn and that stun duration. You see it also sometimes on maps like Layer Cake or just in other scenarios as well. He can always be that threat as a last pick. Alright guys, it's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one. So sorry for a bit of a late upload today. I've had literally no power all day, so I've just been sweating as quickly as possible to get a video out for you guys. But, you know, I've been asked this a few times in terms of the best counter picks. Again, it's pretty self-explanatory, like, especially like the last pick brawlers, very more so of the niche brawlers, because of course you want to pick in the best brawlers towards the beginning of draft. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.